policy paper on temporary foreign workers outlines 5 reasons why we think that the program needs to be scrapped. Note the language that we use here. We have consistently taken the position as a Federation of Labour that this is not a program in its current incarnation that can be reformed. It needs to be abolished. Now, there might be some small ways in which temporary working visas can and should be part of the immigration system. Here I'm talking about fancy Hollywood actors or postdoctoral fellows at universities. But for the vast majority of people coming in under this program, they should be coming here as immigrants. And we've taken that position since 2005, and we continue to take it. Now, the 5 reasons are that the temporary foreign worker program, first of all, is flooding the labor market. It is no longer filling a need if it ever was. The justification for that argument lies in the paper that we are releasing, I believe, tomorrow. And this booklet is sort of a latest installment in terms of our research from the Federation of Labour on the topic of the TFW program. This booklet goes through regional dynamics. It breaks things down by small cities and big cities to really tease out the impact of on the labor market of the temporary foreign worker program. And what it does is it shows that through recession and recovery and now economic growth in the years from 2009 to present day, that we have accelerated the temporary foreign worker program, even when the economy was shedding tens of thousands of jobs in our province through 2009 and 2010. So I invite you to review that information that is in here. And that is the first reason why the temporary foreign worker program has to go. Number 2, the TFW program, and this is an important point for us in the labor movement, relieves employers of their duty to train the next generation of workers. We've seen across the country now an increased emphasis on training from politicians, either at the federal or provincial level. There is, in fact, an election campaign being fought on this topic across the mountains over in BC right now. It is the #1 issue on people's minds, jobs and skills training. We've seen the federal government take some negative steps in this regard in the last election. What we saw in Alberta is $100 million siphoned out of training budgets in the last budget. It was a very punitive budget for post-secondary education, for healthcare, and for K-12 education. But the untold story was how much money has been siphoned out of training programs in this province. It's not the first time they've made multi-million-dollar cuts to training either. In 2010, they axed about $20 million out of that budget. What the TFW program does is it allows us to import already trained workers from elsewhere, relieving both the private sector and governments of their responsibility to fund training programs. So that's number 2. Number 3, the reason why the program has to go is because it has overtaken immigration. This is an important values point for us to make, and I touched on it earlier, that the labor movement cannot be led into discussions about how we oppose new Canadians. Quite the opposite. That this is a program that has overtaken who we are as Canadians, in fact. Immigration is the way that we built this country. My grandparents came here that way. I'm sure many of yours did as well. We have been building our economy for 150 years with immigration. I am not sure why we have stopped that now and allowed a guest worker program to overtake it. So that is point number 3. What happens when you allow a temporary foreign worker program to overtake immigration is you have a constant pool of low-wage labor at the lowest end of the labor market. Armin talked about the precarious end of the labor market that is sloshing around like a washing machine, always easily replaced, always under pressure. That draws down standards for everyone. But there are specific ways in which temporary foreign workers themselves have to deal with exploitation, whether that's unsafe working conditions, as we saw with the tank farm collapse, with TFWs working for Sinopec up at CNRL in the oil sands, or when we get constant reports of inadequate housing for temporary foreign workers, or unscrupulous brokers and other, quite frankly, shysters who are preying upon people, extracting thousands of dollars out of them in order to be able to come here for the privilege of working. Those are the kinds of things that persist, that our provincial government could do something about if they wanted to. They have persisted in not doing it. That is the other reason why the program needs to be scrapped. And finally, the Harper Conservatives are accelerating the temporary foreign worker program under something they call the accelerated labor market opinion. Now, this was supposed to be for, when they brought this in last year under the omnibus legislation, it was supposed to be for higher waged occupations in which it is alleged that there are skills shortages. We might quibble with that. There might be a shortage, rather, of training. But what happened with these accelerated labor market opinions is not only are employers allowed to pay temporary foreign workers 15% less with these new permits, and not only do employers not have to advertise anymore these jobs, and they do not need to look for Canadians anymore for these jobs where they have an ALMO, but also we had thousands of employers in this province and elsewhere get these labor market opinions for what appear to be not high-skilled work at all, but low-skilled work. And so we have an abuse of that system, and that's the other reason, the final reason why it has to go. The accelerated system accelerates exploitation. So I invite you to review the paper. I tried to keep it short. I tried to keep it to the point, and I also tried to keep it focused on action, and that's why the last page you will see some recommendations for what the labor movement can do on this file. I think it's important to keep our eyes on the prize with respect to what the ask is. We are asking for this program to be scrapped and replaced with immigration, which is the way that our great country was built and should continue to be built.